Thank you for joining us. This is Health Your Own Way podcast, and I am your host, Mo Atkins. Welcome to another episode. Today, we'll be talking about how to live in the middle of diet and anti-diet culture. My guest speaker is Mary-Catherine. She's a registered dietitian, a military spouse, and owner of Defy Nutrition. So, Mary, it's going to be an interesting topic. I want to say thank you for being part of this platform, and anything you want to add before we start today?
No, I'm just grateful to be here, and you can go ahead and call me Mary-Catherine.
Oh, thank you, Mary-Catherine. Mm-hmm. It's an interesting name. I like it. Thank you. You know what? Let me not get too into your name because that's not why people are here for. I'm like, Mo, honestly, go yourself down. Okay, so we're going to be talking about middle of diet and anti-diet culture. I think the first thing is, what is the difference? I think people know, but I don't think people really know. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I feel like nowadays the terms are kind of thrown around a lot. And so it's really important to kind of get back to the roots of what is the definition? What does that actually mean? So this is my personal definition, and diet culture to me is really this concept that perpetuates all these rules that aren't necessarily based in science. They end up really fueling guilt and shame around food because we're always feeling bad about what we're eating because it doesn't fit with a certain diet. And it's also this notion of all or nothing. You're either fully into this diet or you're fully off. And there's just this yo-yo cycle that is really part of this diet culture. So to kind of come up with basic tenets of what diet culture is, it's a list of rules that don't necessarily apply to everybody, that aren't necessarily based in science. It's the guilt and shame that come along with eating. It's feeling like we always have to be skinny or thinner, and that health is, or being thin indicates being healthy. And really just there's, do's and don'ts, and it's very hard stop rules with no flexibility.
No, that's a great definition, because I feel like, when you said it all, everybody has some kind of has experienced that kind of specific attributes or seen in other people, right? I like when you said, people assume that being skinny means you're healthy. A lot of people don't realize you're skinny fat. There's a lot of people that are skinny are not healthy. And yep. You're right when you also said that in respects to the fact that people's certain diets are based on not scientific, or even loosely based on scientific, and they take it to the extreme. So I really appreciate you providing that feedback, because I feel like a lot of people just don't understand that. But then with that said, would you say that as a society we're diet obsessed then?
I think as a society we are. I think we are moving in the direction of trying to get rid of that. I think, just with working with people, talking with friends, we're really seeing people want to get away from the diet culture, but I still think it very much surrounds us on a day-to-day basis.
I hear that. And I also hear with social media, I find it's a lot harder because a lot of people you see the fitness models, or you see the people that are there's a lot of fakeness. So people assume it works. And then a lot of fake, for lack of a better choice word, fake news. I don't like the word terminology, but I'm just going to say fake news that just tell you about certain diets that are popularized. So, I think I don't see the other way. I don't see a lot of people not trying to be more going on diets. I find a lot of people are trying to always go on a diet. I'm sorry, maybe I'm wrong. What do you think?
No, I think you're right. I think if we're talking about social media, you have to be very conscious about who you're following in order to see the people who aren't perpetuating diet culture. So I think, for someone who's not going to filter out their feed or deliberately try to follow someone who's preaching against diet culture, it's more likely than not that you're going to see something like that. And I love what you said too about models or whatever. And I think part of diet culture is this idea that we want a quick fix. And I think especially in today's society where we really strive for immediate gratification, we want instant reward, it can be appealing because it looks easy. And but when you think about it, it's too good to be true for a reason, right? There are so many other factors that go into it. But I think if we're just talking about consuming information on a day-to-day basis, it is so much easier to find things that are, inspiring diet culture rather than dismantling it.
Then, earlier we said that you were a dietitian, right? So then what are some of your challenges that you find as a dietitian when you meet new people that you have to kind of dispel the concept of diet? Oh, I know, Mary. I know, Mary-Catherine. Sorry, Mary. I know. Because I have my own experience. Some people Well, go ahead, Mary-Catherine, go ahead.
I mean, I could go in a soapbox. I will not do that, but I could. So I mean, I think there's a few things. One, for me as an individual dietitian, I'm anti-diet culture. I'm not necessarily anti-diet. And I think it's important to differentiate the two. So I think, there can be foods that are better for us that might be better for based on our health condition. And in that sense, that's really choosing what's going to work best for us to optimize our own individual nutrition. But I am anti-diet culture in that I'm not going to, say, let's do this next fad or whatever this trendy thing is. And when it comes to, dispelling the myths around people, working with clients, I find that 9 times out of 10, people are so done with the quick fixes that now they're more willing to find these sustainable lifestyle changes. And it's been such an amazing shift to see. At the same time, I think there's this notion that I have to lose weight to be healthy. And that is so hard. And I've had my own personal experiences with weight. So I always like to share that because I think sometimes people see your physique or your size and they're like, you don't get it. You've never been there. But I do get it. I have been there. And I think it's hard for people to detach their value from the number on the scale because we just have this idea, well, if I can just get to this weight, I'll be happier. And we forget that we can be happy in the here and now. And I think that is one of the hardest mindset blocks to really work through when we're trying to shift away from diet culture.
I like when you said that because, some people do struggle. Like once they hit a certain number, they think they're going to be happy. But I think there's a lot of underlying issues people have when it comes to their weight that, even a dietitian or a trainer can't help you with. Like you need to go see a mental health specialist or something like that. And then what I find, and you can tell me, is like some of my experience, I find people, there's so much information, but the information is not correct. Like it's really bad. And you hear them say, I think you're right. I never think of good or bad food. And depending on your body, everything. I've had clients that say there's bad food. I'm like, why are you saying that? Like, I never said that to you, but like, it's like they get it out there and you're just like, I don't know where you're getting this from. Because I feel like, what is your experience?
It spreads like wildfire though. It really does. Like you have one thing that's wrong, but like it spreads so quickly. And then you're trying to like make up for the time and like go back and be like, where did you get this from? Can we just kind of start over?
Yes. And I think, in respect to diet culture, I find that it's getting worse as we get older. What I mean by that is for kids, I find that a lot of youths are really suffering and some of them, unfortunately are getting affected by this. Maybe I'm wrong. Like, I don't know. Do you get that or do you?
I think it's true. I think there's two kind of ends of the spectrum. And part of it is, the youth who are exposed to diet culture and, restricting. And then the other part of it is that as a society, the rates of obesity are going higher. And I get parents who come to me and say, my kid needs to lose weight. But the recommendation actually isn't to lose weight at, 8 years old. It's just to slow how quickly you're gaining weight as in relation to how you're gaining your height. So I think part of that is understanding how can we have healthier habits so we're not focused on the scale. And I think that's the missing piece is we just don't have healthy habits. Like we have the quick fixes or the fast food drive-through. And we are again on this like all or nothing like cycle of like either I'm all in or I'm all out. And I think, when we're thinking about youth, I think there are some that are exposed, but I think the issue is more so how do we as parents raise kids in a healthy household that's not necessarily just focused on the weight or needing to lose weight, but instead, having healthy growth.
I like what you said that. And I think I'm in North America, especially Canada. I'm not sure we're in the US?
Yes, in the US.
Okay. Yeah, your obesity is ridiculous over there. But anyway, so going on with that, I was going to add, because a lot of people are struggling, like you see it online, you see it on TV, you see everywhere, you see outside. If people are looking to, understand more about how to go beyond diet culture or learning how to sustain lifestyle choices, what's the best platform to reach you out? Because I know that, as we mentioned, you're a dietitian, right? So my assumption at this point is that you help people remove themselves of diet culture. But you know what, Mary-Catherine, you can, re-educate me if I'm wrong. Go ahead, please.
No, you're right. I do help people with that for sure. So in terms of platform, I'm on Facebook and Instagram. I have a community. on Facebook. I like to call it a community instead of a group. I actually polled my users and they're like, I want to be part of a community where we really help people get out of diet culture and find what healthy habits are going to be best for them.
I like that. And think, sorry, what is the name of the community so that we can have that details for them? I'm sorry, I missed that part.
So it's Defy Nutrition Tips and Support.
I love that. Why do you put Defy? What's because we initially said Defy Nutrition. So what's the meaning behind Defy Nutrition, if you don't mind me asking?
Yeah. So my slogan is Defy the rules, defy yesterday's you. And what this means to me is when I was envisioning my brand, I really wanted to have something that stood out. And I pictured, like breaking the glass ceiling or kind of like smashing the rules into the ground, which is a little violent, but that's kind of what I thought of. And so I really focused on defying the diet rules. And when I say defy yesterday's you, I am all about small incremental habits. So what step can we take today that's going to make your health even better than it was yesterday? So rather than thinking of like, this massive big picture that's super intimidating, what's one small step you can take today to defy yesterday's you?
Oh, I love that. Look at you, Mary-Catherine. I love that. Okay, before I let you go, anything you want to add or state before we finish off today, Mary-Catherine?
I just want to add that, this process can be intimidating. I think we find a lot of comfort in the control of diet culture and these lists of do's and don'ts. And I think it's really important to find a community that's going to support you as you're transitioning. It is a process, and it's being willing to get rid of that kind of quick fix mentality and really wanting that like lifestyle change. So, finding that community. And then you also mentioned earlier, sometimes there's more to the weight than just working with a dietitian. And so I always encourage my clients to see a dietitian in tandem with a mental health provider, because I think there's just so much richness in that, because a lot of times our issues with weight have a lot of either underlying trauma or reasons. And so I always like to say, make sure you're getting support from both areas so that you're, fully vested in that process of ditching diet culture.
I love that. I think you saying that means a lot, because it's a lot of assumption that it's just people are struggling with just not eating too much or not moving. But there's some people, it's really underlying trauma that they need to deal with. So with that said, thank you very much for educating us today, Mary-Catherine. I appreciate this conversation, and thank you again.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
We're glad to have you join us. Don't forget to subscribe, leave a comment, share with anyone that needs to be empowered and inspired, and don't forget to join us next week for the next episode of Health Your Way podcast. Have a good day, you guys.